So for today, in our last quarterly meeting of the year, we always begin the meeting with a land acknowledgement, and then we're going to discuss, I'm going to share the document for the successes and also just highlight some of those and ask for any questions you might have around what we've done this past year. We will talk about the priorities for 2025 and how you can get involved. And we also have an open call for Community Advisory Board members and for food equity advisors. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll open it up to all of you to ask you, are there anything you would like to share in this quarterly meeting with what you are doing? So I'm going to stop the share there. And I'm going to share a document in the chat. And this is some successes we've had to date. And I don't know if you've had a chance to read them, but we did share them when we advertised this. So I'm hoping you've had a chance to look at some of the successes we've had this past year. So I'm going to share this document. So I just shared the successes into the chat box so you can look at it on your own, but I'm just going to briefly highlight some of the things we've done. So I'm going to go back to the share screen. Oh, I'm going to start here. So we are going to open the meeting with a landing acknowledgement. So I invite you just to, on your own, read what is up on the screen to set the stage for the rest of the meeting. Okay, thank you. So in the document that I shared in the chat, obviously is much more detailed. What I'm sharing with you is some very, very high level highlights of what we've done. So we've done an enormous amount of engagement and advocated on legislative advocacy with different action alerts, with coordinating 2 lobby days, and the many different pieces that we did in sending letters and talking with legislators. We've also provided opportunities for food equity advisors to engage directly with decision makers. For those of you who are new to the South Coast Food Policy Council, food equity advisors are people with lived experience of hunger. And our task is to really allow them as many opportunities as possible to speak directly to decision makers. In this case, I put a few there in the document that I shared, whether it was written testimony, writing op-eds, or actually providing testimony in person at the Poverty Commission, or joining us at the State House to talk directly to legislators. So that is a big piece of the work we do, and we'll talk more about that later. We've also created and maintained relationships with legislators, and I put there a few different things and the ways we did it, from legislative breakfast to actually doing monthly updates with legislators to have a touch point, to meeting directly with legislators and creating new relationships, and also, of course, our lobby days that we've done as well. We've also promoted democratic activity and civic engagement through what I also put on there. We do a candidate forum at the state level every 2 years. And we really engage the potential legislators with the food system issues and invite the public in that district to come and really listen to what's happening with their thoughts on the different food system issues that we brought up. Another place that we've really engaged the community as the South Coast Food Policy Council is through the Eat Local South Coast Challenge. And we do that every year, and the focus is to really educate people in the food system and engage them in a fun way by inviting them to partake in different local food events that are happening during the summer. We've also initiated a community agricultural resiliency audit tool. What that does is really looking at Bristol County in particular using our community advisory board to investigate what policies, practices, and procedures are in our area that will make our region more robust and resilient to climate change, and to be able to assess the different gaps that we might have and the assets that we have in the different pieces in our area. We also organize an annual virtual food summit. Each year we take a different theme, and we're really engaging the community and learning more about the food system and different cutting edge ideas. We also created a 5-module advocacy training for different community partners and also for our community advisory board. And we'll be rolling those out into the public in the next year. If your organization is interested in doing a deeper dive and how to do legislative advocacy, please contact us. We're happy to talk with you about potentially working with you on that training. We've also collaborated with partners to bring more food into the food pantries. And in that document, you can see the details of that, and then also the status of the different bills that we've been working on. So those are some of the successes that we've had this year. I want to just any community advisory board members or food equity advisor board or team staff that are here, if you want to add anything into what we shared, you are welcome to, or if you have any questions about what we've done. Okay. I know it was a lot of information that we shared in the document and what we just shared now, but you are welcome to ask any questions. Okay. Okay. So the next piece we want to talk about is the priorities. A lot of people ask us, why are we working on these advocacy priorities? What are the policies that we're working on? Why are they important? So I'm just going to bring this back to a share and just run through our issues and talk about why they're important. So these are the main issues that we work on during the last few years. And why are they important? Who are the people that they impact? For those of you who are unfamiliar, I'm not gonna go into detail on these bills. I'm just telling you why it's important that we work on them. So the Healthy Incentive Program, it's really important that people have access to really fresh local produce. And this particular program allows people that use SNAP to do that. And who it impacts are people that are extremely vulnerable in our area. Whether you're a veteran, you're an elder person, whatever your situation is, if you use SNAP, you're eligible for HIP. So we've been working steadily on making this a permanent part of the budget to add additional money to that. Because as we know, SNAP is not enough money to buy the food that you need to remain healthy. So this particular program is an additional program that provides more money to people to buy healthy food, local food, and it helps local farmers to actually, as they are part of it. So it really impacts both the farming community and the people that are on SNAP that use HIP. So it's a huge impact for our area, and this will help our health outcomes in the end. So we're going to continue to work on that one. The other one is a state-funded SNAP for Massachusetts immigrants. Sometimes people know this as Feeding Our Neighbors coalition work. What we're trying to do here is recognizing that immigrants are the backbone of our state and our country, and they are frozen out of SNAP, the federal level. This impacts, and why it's important is because they're our neighbors. They're all around us, and they work really hard, and they're in our system and helping out as people we're living with. And this will impact them. This will impact our local economy. And this is really deeply important, as you know, as an immigrant coming into the country, how hard it is to get up your family up and off the ground. So this is a deeply impactful moment that we can start to take a look at funding this program. It was funded all those in several years back in the 90s, and then it was stopped funding. So we're trying to take a program that was in place in Massachusetts and bring it back to help the immigrants that are coming in to Massachusetts. The Farm to School grant and why it's important and who it impacts. The Farm to School grant is an infrastructure grant program, but it's also helping the school system in other ways. So if a school wants to build out a kitchen, they want to have raised beds, they want curriculum developed, they want the children to start learn more about the food system, how to grow food. The Farm to School grant is a piece that we want to make permanent in the budget. It's really important that kids start to understand and how to eat healthy, and that, as you know, impacts the families that are with the kids in these school systems. So getting healthier outcomes for the kids is critically important. Allowing scratch cooking for the schools to make culturally appropriate food is really important. So this grant has enormous potential for Massachusetts. The food literacy bill is an incredibly broad bill that would really put in from K to 12, put into place with DESE, a system where they would have to have curriculum around the food system at every grade level.
What?
And that by putting the curriculum in place at the state level, this will impact the entire school system across the state. So right now we have few people going into the food sector system, whether they're farmers, fishermen in the food processing side or aggregation, or in the food waste side. We don't have many people coming into this area of the food system. So we want to build a group of young people coming up that will know about the food system, that will know about how to take care of themselves, what to eat, how to grow. And there's a lot of survival skills within that system. So basically the curriculum will impact the school systems and all the families and the future generations of the food system in our area. So that's a huge impact if we can get that off the ground. The equity in agriculture bill is hugely important because the truth is we don't know what the barriers are to getting into the agricultural industry. So what this bill does is it actually creates a commission comprised of Black, Indigenous, and people of color that will actually do the research, identify the barriers to the legislators, and support different measures to put in place so there won't be any barriers to agriculture, whether it's getting a loan or different technical assistance, whatever the barriers are. It's just setting up a commission to have the information so we can then put good policies together for future of farming. The other bill is the cottage laws. Why is this important? What is that? Cottage laws are essentially anything where you're taking a produce like strawberries and you want to make strawberry jam. So of what we call a value added product. Currently, there's no one set law across Massachusetts. It's really up to the local health departments to interpret some of the regulations around that. So a cottage law, if you are a farmer and you're growing strawberries and you want to make strawberry jam, you want to sell that into a local farmer's market, it requires you to go to the local health department, get a license, and depending on your local Department of Health, you may have to get your kitchen inspected. You may have to go through another system of regulations, and you have to pay a fee. And if you're a local small entrepreneur trying to get your food system started, like your food business started, that's a real heavy burden. So what we want to try to do is look at the state law. There is a cottage law in place that we can potentially pass that will make regulated the food that is not temperature regulated to be able to sell without having going through the Department of Health to get all these pieces in place. So that's I think has great potential to make huge impact on both farming community and local people in our communities that have food that they want to sell openly. So that's an area we're going to work on. The last two pieces, encouraging donations to people in need. Man, this is going to make a huge impact on both the food businesses and farmers and the people in food banks. So it's important because the food pantries currently don't have enough fresh food coming into their food pantries. And we'd like to have farmers to be able to donate more money, but they need to have that money in return. They don't want to give just food for nothing. They need to make a return on their investment. So what this would do is give a tax break to farmers or restaurants to donate food. So we're basically incentivizing producers to donate food. This will impact all the different food pantries. This will impact the people coming to the food pantries, and hopefully have more fresh food available to people in our communities. I think is a big piece. And the other is the food system budget programs. So it's anything from our buy locals to the Massachusetts Food Trust to the universal school meals to HIP. These are all pieces within the food system budget that are really important that we continue these pieces. It impacts the larger community of Massachusetts, and these are big, big details. So I'm going to stop. These are the priorities in what we've been working on and why we think they're important. Any thoughts or comments or any feedback to what we've been working on and what we'll continue to work on?
I'll just add some information to the bill that is around donations or tax incentives to people that give donations to food relief, and the critical nature of that is also when you look at, one of the things that we're doing here at the Marion Institute with Frogfoot Farm is being able to finally start up a regional gleaning program. So in southeastern Mass, there is no regional gleaning program in Norfolk, Plymouth, Bristol County, or Barnstable County, for that matter. That's an official gleaning program. And so that means hundreds of thousands of pounds go to waste in the fields that could be harvested and then donated to food relief. However, as Christine was mentioning, that shouldn't be just, on the backs of our farmers, and being able to provide tax incentives to farmers that participate in the gleaning program is going to become really, really critical these next, few years. So point being, for our, as you're all either CAB members on our South Coast Food Policy Council, or you're a member at large, and being able to understand and be familiar with these bills that we're working on is really important, because as we send out action alerts and want you to take action on these items, it's important for you to understand why and the impact that we have, and that we are all collectively raising our voices together in southeastern Mass, right, at the state level.
Thank you, Liz. That's really good.
What are some thoughts? Anybody have any questions about any of them? Anybody have any concerns about any of them? Concerns about doing advocacy action in general? I mean, we find that we've spent a lot of time in this past year, as Christine was giving you a quick update of everything that we're doing. And, one of the things we spent months on was really educating and training our community advisory board on how to do advocacy, because we find that so many people feel intimidated by it, or they don't know where to begin, or they aren't sure that they can do it based on their, where they work. So just want to know if there's any of those lingering questions out there, because we did it with our community advisory board, but we haven't done it with the general public yet, and happy to do that if people felt like they needed some guidance along those lines.
Liz, this is Pauline.
Yes.
And with the Healthy Incentive Program, with the flyers that you sent out, I went to my neighborhood meetings and doing my outreach, and I presented those, the flyer out, and I had many of the seniors write letters and call the senators for that program.
That's so great. That's so awesome to hear. I really appreciate hearing that feedback, Pauline. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great job.
Yeah, that's so important for us to get that feedback, because some of it we put it out there, and now with this new technology that we have, this action alert software technology, we're able to see some of the impact that it has, but a lot of it gets lost, like exactly what you're saying, that grassroots approach and getting the word out, and then the ripple effect that it has, we can't really track. So getting that kind of insight back is really helpful, and also lends that, if you ever feel like you don't have the tools to do that, to expand out to your networks, just reaching out to us so that we can provide you with that, whether it's flyers or graphics or whatever it is that you need. We want, make sure that you all feel like you are have the tools to be able to kind of go and fire up your own networks. That's what it's all about. Buddy, I really liked that you did the heart thing. That was nice. I don't know if you intended to do that, but like all of a sudden, all these heart bubbles bounced up. I love
Yes.
that. I'm feeling the love, man.
If I could add to that, you gave me a great idea. It's like, so when I'm at the farmer's market, I'm trying to coach customers how to be advocates. It's
Yeah.
so hard to do that while I'm also trying to take care of customers. Like,
Yeah.
I would love it if you'd come to farmers markets and talk to customers about how to
We
do
can
that.
totally do that. And Christine did a little bit of that, went to the farmer's market in New Bedford, but definitely that's something that we're looking to expand upon in this coming year is how can we, meet the people where they're at, to educate individuals and to make them, feel like they can take some action and feel empowered. And, again, Laura, you hear this all the time from me, but it bears repeating for anybody on here that hasn't heard it, is that that's the power behind a food policy council, whether the food policy council is ours or someplace else in the state, is that all the food system stakeholders that are focused on the direct service work, you're focused on the direct service work. You're the farmer, you're growing the food, you're selling the food, you're like, that's your head's down. You can't be doing all of it. So how we can support from the level of being sort of that umbrella organization that is raising the, amplifying all of our voices at the state level is really important. So hearing from all of you of like how we can do a better job at that is really important. So keep it coming. Who else has ideas?
Hey, Peter put in the chat that how do you get involved? You're a nurse and a director of outreach and want to help empower community members to advocate for better standards in food for better health outcomes. Fantastic, Peter. So one of the ways is certainly, I just put a link in for the advocacy alert, so you can share that, Peter. You can also join as a member, and we are looking for community advisory board members. So those are the people. So we'll talk. I have a whole screen on how to get involved. But yeah, definitely. I'm going to put the email in the chat. If you contact me in the SFPC at marieninstitute.org, we can talk more about how you would like to get involved. But if you want to talk in the short term about the advocacy, we can definitely have a conversation, and then I can help you figure out what to say to people when you're doing the action alert. Does that sound good, Peter?
Sorry, I missed a little bit of that. I got a phone call.
Okay.
So
I
not to have
just,
you repeat everything, but so just to give a little background. So I'm a director of outreach. I'm a nurse. I've been an oncology nurse for nine years now. I'm all about, empowering community members to know how to advocate better for the standard, especially around food and food insecurity, which results in a lot of down the road issues that like I experienced growing up, but also a lot of other people continue to experience, but then they don't have the opportunities to advance themselves in some way, shape, or form to understand the impacts it has. So I was just wondering, how do I get involved? Who do I talk to so that whenever there's an event or things come up, you have another, you have a healthcare professional there to
Love that.
megaphone to get the
Yeah,
word out.
Peter, where do you work?
I work at iCube Strategies. So we're a health equity, health and wellness pharmaceutical consulting firm, but a lot of the work we do for pharmaceutical companies is that we help guide them to understand the lived experience of people of color, lower economic status, white people, the whole community, so that it's not this, broad paintbrush that they seem to paint for a lot of other communities, and it's incorrect information. It doesn't land well. But if we can know how to guide people to better, how to navigate the healthcare system better, how to be well overall, food is at the heart of a lot of things. So I'm here. I'm trying to figure out how can I help. So I work
hey,
mostly from
Peter,
home.
can you put your email into the chat and then we can talk more?
100%.
Yeah, we would love to reach out to you. I mean, that's awesome, Peter. You're breaking up a little bit, so I'm not sure if it's just my connection or if it's breaking up for everybody, but we put into our, right, great, we have that. We'll definitely be reaching out to you. Oh, it is saying my internet connection's unstable, so maybe it's me. Thanks, Rita. And so we will definitely reach out to you. We definitely want to make sure that, you know, you're exactly the kind of person that we want to connect with, and try to see how we can bring what we're doing to your people and your guests. Community.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. Oh,
I'm loving the
thanks, Peter.
hearts.
Yeah.
Liz, I just have one more question. Mass
Sure.
Senior Action is just restarting over again. And they're meeting at the Dartmouth Council on Aging on
Okay.
January the 15th. So I'll put the information who to contact, because that's a real great advocacy, agency that they would be wonderful for this group here.
Definitely. Yep. Yep. Put that in there and we'll make sure
Okay.
that Christine will be able to attend. I'm away during that time, but we will have somebody there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Questions? Super.
Okay. All right. So the next section is just really sharing what is happening with the community advisory board working groups. So I'm going to share with you really quickly. So we have 4 working groups, and those working groups have some specific tasks, and we'd love for you to get involved more with us. So we divided those bills up, and each working group is going to take some bills, but they also have different things that they're responsible for as well. So our education and communication working group will work on the Farm to School grant, the food literacy, the Eat Local South Coast Challenge, and the Food Summit. So that's that working group. The policy, we're going to be doing issue briefings and then have like a big action after the issue briefing. But we're also going to be working on this. Sorry.
I just want to check, does everybody know what all those components are that Christine just rattled off in the education and communication? Because if you don't, we're happy to expand upon, especially the Eat Local South Coast Challenge and the Food Summit. So just want to make sure that everybody's aware of those things. But if you want a description of them, we can give you a brief description of them.
I'd be interested in hearing more about the Food Summit, if you don't mind going into more detail about that.
Sure.
Sure. Every year we have been doing a virtual food summit, and it's basically an evening where we invite different folks, just like a mini conference or a mini webinar. In this past year, we really were looking at a shift toward food sovereignty. So we actually, in speaking to a lot of different people, looked at, and really the theme was shifting perspectives from food security to food sovereignty. And there's a very big difference. So each year we have something really different. The previous year was on food recovery and food waste, and we had people from the EPA. We had our local folks that do food recovery. The previous year, we did the intersections of transportation, housing, food, healthcare. So each time we do it, it is directed towards our members at large. We have about 1,000 members at large. Those are people on our email group that get all the emails for the advocacy. And while it's targeted to them, they're somewhere in the food system, or they're somewhere how connected to the food system. So we're kind of trying to provide education on different areas of the food system, but also making sure it's kind of more cutting edge and something unusual that we haven't necessarily thought about, or something macro that's coming along, and we just want to engage members. Liz, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think one of our goals, Andrea, is that, this is a great way of sort of bringing different stakeholders together. So like we're always talking about food system stuff, but how does the food system relate to housing or livable wages or food waste? Or so for one, the food summit for often is like a time for us to sort of break down those silos, but amongst other sectors that that it's dependent on. And then eventually, they used to be back in the day before we were the South Coast Food Policy Council, and this was the Food Security Network, they had them in person, and they were, a great networking event. And then we went online during COVID. So I'd love some feedback of, we're sort of always like, is this year the year we go back to doing in person and having more of a networking type of an event too? And as you're representing Barnstable County and coming from the Cape and being able to think about like, I mean, that's, I think, one of our goals amongst the team here, the food policy team, is to get back to a place where we're either doing like a half day or a full day event so that we can do some networking amongst all of our counties here in Southeastern Mass. I think would be really beneficial. So I don't know if we're ready for that this year. Maybe we are. But what's the feedback from all of you on the call? Would that be something that would be useful for this region?
Yeah, I just asked because that was something my colleague Kim Conquer and I were talking about, that we'd love to have a food summit on the Cape. And then when I saw your food summit that was virtual, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great to maybe not
Fine.
this year, but maybe next year, do a big one for the region.
Yeah.
That would be great.
So you saying like 2025 or 2026?
Well, for me, the sooner the better, but I know it's hard to pull things together too. But Kim and I were thinking about trying to get a small one started for the spring of 2025, but then we realized how fast the time keeps going by,
Yeah.
and we haven't really started it yet. But
Well, we should talk about whether or not we could, I like doing the food summit as consistently in September.
okay,
So we would want to look to September.
sure.
But I think we're really happy to have a conversation to flesh that out with you all. And, we've started to work more closely with Plymouth County, so getting Plymouth County involved in it as well. What are other people's thoughts? Does that sound like something people would be interested in seeing happen in Southeastern Mass?
Something to
Great.
look forward to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
We're getting nods and thumbs up.
great. It's helpful to hear.
Good. Okay. Okay. So the other piece was let me go back to the share. And so we also, within the education and communication working group, do the eLocal South Coast Challenge. And that's really a time for people to engage with the local farming community and to engage in local food and to learn more about the food system. So that encapsulates the work, that working group. And then policy, we're going to start with the issue briefings. We're going to start doing little pieces on, you got a taste of that today, why it's important, but we'll be doing a deeper dive into like, where's this bill been? Where's it going? What do we need? Well, how's it going to be successful and so on. And then we'll have a call to action. So we'll start doing those in the coming year. That group's also going to work on the equity in agriculture, which I talked about earlier, the food system budget items. We're going to start doing a deeper dive and expanding out relationships with legislators and start doing district meetings, which would be really great to involve both the members at large, the community advisory board, and its working groups. So that's policy. And please just let us know if you have any questions as we walk through this. The other working group that we have is food access. It's a really big group right now. We are going to be working on the Healthy Incentive Program and the state-funded SNAP for Massachusetts immigrants and convene as needed, but we're also going to see there's some other pieces that we're working on from the carrot that might come through. But if there are emergencies going on in the food access sector, this is kind of where we want to know what's happening so we can kind of start to address that within the council. So that's that working group. And then we have the capacity building working group that we're going to be working on the cottage laws or potentially ordinances at the local level and encouraging the donations to people in need and continuing the carrot audit and reporting out to the rest of the community once we have everything finalized in the carrot for Bristol County. We'll start doing some of that work of reporting out to the community what we found. I'm going to stop.
Would you be able to give everybody a little overview around the carrot and what we're doing with the carrot for people that are not familiar with that term and what we're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, carrot is a way of doing a community food system assessment that involves working together with a group of stakeholders from the community to answer 101 different indicators or different questions about what exists in your community around various aspects of the food system. And it ranges from, do you have protections for agricultural farmland? Do you have zoning or permitting that allows household composting? Do you have organizations that are composting? And those 101 different questions are divided up into seven core themes that have to do, again, with different food system aspects. And it's really getting at, if you have all of these things, then you have a resilient food system at the community scale. And what it's helping us do is to understand what are some of the gaps in our community food system. We've started our carrot assessment about a year ago as part of a cohort of 12 different organizations across the country who are utilizing the carrot tool to look at their communities and go through the process. And we are focusing on Bristol County. So over the past year, we've worked with the 4 work groups month by month to look at each theme and answer each of the indicators. We'll be wrapping up in February. We'll have gone through all of the themes, all of the indicators, pull together all of the information, and then we'll be giving ourselves a score. And that score will help us understand how resilient is the Bristol County food system. As the South Coast food policy, though, we are also looking at food doesn't stop at county boundaries, and we're really trying to get a look at and understand the food system from what's called a food shed point of view. So how does food move through the county? Where's your food coming from? And if we're going to build regional strength, we need to understand food more as it moves through our area as opposed to just Bristol County. So Bristol County is where we're starting, and we're working with other South Coast counties, and we're hoping to work where things are in motion for working with other southeastern Massachusetts counties so that we have carrot assessments and carrot scores for each of them, and we'll combine that into one regional resiliency score. This will complement what we've done with a food system assessment, which you can find on our website and is actually a pretty exciting read, especially the short version. The South Coast Food Policy Council did our first one in 2021, and that food system assessment is what's called a technical assessment, and it pulls all the information about how many farms do you have, how many restaurants do you have, how many acres of land you have in agriculture, and again gives us that oversight of the region. So we'll be combining the carrot, which is more publicly sourced, with that more technical food system assessment for a full report in 2026.
Good job. Any questions?
You have a question, buddy? There you go.
I don't have a specific question for her. I like the concept of what we're talking about. I did want to go back to the food access and first thank Christine for coming to our meetings and helping us out. Thing that we're talking about around the moss cutting trees property. Volume okay for everybody? Am I talking okay? So we in the south end of New Bedford, we're in a food desert. Besides having Price Right and Stop and Shop in our neighborhood, that's it. There are no other access to foods, including the closest food pantry has is Salvation Army, and that is inundated with a lot of folks already. And so we're back to Bedford Village opening up its office back to a food pantry and encouraging farmers markets. Serenity Garden will be beefing up again this year. We did a good year this past year, and we're hoping to get another lot on active as far as a farmer's garden. And we need a farmer's market. And I am actually asking at this point any farmer that wants to partner with Old Bedford Village in selling their goods in New Bedford. We are willing to work with any farmer that's willing to do that. It is important when we're talking about for the South End in particular, food security, and what the future looks like in food security in regards to any new stores. And I'm not talking about just farmers markets or just the how do you say this in a nice way? Just the nonprofit stuff, the poverty stuff. I'm talking about small businesses coming in, opening up stores, opening up restaurants, and things of that nature that we have to encourage. Besides the work that Old Bedford Village and the Community Garden, Serenity Garden is doing, all of it is necessary. The economy has not changed or made things any better for us here to be able to afford the food at the stores and the farmers markets. So we have to deal with a way of how to deal with the poverty issue as well. But the main thing right now is access. How do we beef up the access for food year round and not just if that makes any sense.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any comments or thoughts or anything for Buddy?
Buddy, have you reached out to CMAP and Coastal Food Shed?
We've had relationships there. Unfortunately, with Coastal Food Shed, I don't want to get into all the details. But let me say this though, because Liz, hi Liz, how you doing? Liz mentioned and you was talking about the gleaning. The gleaning was a concept that I got introduced to Liz and you guys several years ago. And I was adamantly against it. I was crazy against it. I didn't understand it. And when you don't know what you're talking about, you should keep your mouth shut. And that's how I feel. And I didn't know what I was talking about. But I kept my mouth running, and I got a big foot in it. We last year, 2023, we did a harvest family fun day at Monty's Park. And if it had not been for CMAP,
Susan,
I want to say that loudly, the concept of the harvest thing, which we didn't do this year, and I'm not happy about it because people dropped the ball that I expected to make that happen. But because of CMAP, bringing the bushels and bushels of potatoes and onions and other vegetables to our family fun day. And we happened to have Mayor Mitchell drop by because he was at another event at the Senior Citizens Housing Development across the street, Bull Vista. I tell you, I believe in gleaning. I believe we have to do more of it. I believe we have to understand it better. I believe we have to rally the forces around going to the farms and going to wherever it is to make it happen, because that is a lot of food.
a lot of food.
Wasted. It's being wasted, thrown away. And I can tell you, every piece of food we got, people took and came back for more. I'm telling you, it was in good shape. It was, I know I had some potatoes. I know I took some onions, and they were good. And I can't just not emphasize how that is a very good fall project, all of us to get into, and that is gleaning. And I thank South Coast Food Policy Council for opening my eyes, show me how this is an important part of food security, and more importantly, not wasting food, throwing it away. And I thank CMAP again for coming and bringing boxes and, I mean, we had a good time. The music was good, everything was good, but it was the food that brought the conversations, that brought people to the corner, and everybody shopping for their food and didn't have to pay. Okay, and I just want to emphasize that was a good project for us, and it made me a believer in what Liz and everybody's been talking about in regards to community. Thank you for that.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
buddy.
buddy. Yeah.
And Brad, our newest employee, Brad, hop on here and say hi to people if you can. He's new at CMAP, and there you go, Brad. And that was mostly Brad, just, so you know, Susan, you know, just taking from her farm, mostly
Yes.
bringing that all there. Yeah. But Brad is brand new. How many, like a week, 2 weeks into CMAP now?
Well, 1 week and 2 days.
There you go. Welcome,
Thanks.
welcome.
Thank you, Brad.
Buddy,
Thank
one thing
you.
I will say that's new. One thing I will say that's new that I'm not sure you know about with Coastal Food Shed though, is that they now have a brick and mortar site in the Kilburn Mills. And they are opening up, they have open hours where people can go in and now shop during their open hours. So it's not right in your neighborhood, but it is in the south end. And they do accept HIP. So that's just something for you to know. Did I just
Yeah,
freeze?
can I say something about that? We talk about these things that are out there. And one of the other things that's happening besides the food security or the lack of access is the lack of information. You know, if folk don't know about this stuff, they're not going to go. And Kilburn Mills is a very nice place. It's always been a very important part of this community, even though it's in the far south end, it's still part of our neighborhood. But people don't know, and if people don't know, they're not going to go. And if people don't know, they can't benefit, and that's part of the problem is that people don't know. Not in the in crowd, so they don't know. Thank you.
Sorry, the video just stopped here.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what happened. I hope you heard me though.
We totally
Thank
heard
you.
you. I think our internet here at the office is a little unstable right now. But buddy, one thing, I don't know if you heard me telling you that Coastal Food Shed now does have a brick and mortar place inside of Kilburn Mill. And they do have open hours for people. I don't know what their hours are, but people can go in and shop and they accept tip there. So I think that's just.
Yeah, I heard you say that. What I was saying back was that people don't know about it.
Yeah.
And that's the big problem in the neighborhood here is not access to the food as much as the access to the information of where the food may be.
Yeah.
All right. And you'll be surprised of a lot of folk who don't even know yet about the Pace Foods Pantry up on Parker Street. People are still learning about that. So there's still a gap in information getting out to the neighborhoods that need it the most. And I shouldn't say that because everybody needs it. But you know, getting the information out is key. And I can tell you that if I walk around this neighborhood, I don't see a flyer, I don't see a poster, I get emails about it, I don't have this, I don't have that. And if I had stuff, I would send it to you. We have a network, but we don't have that.
So Brooke is on here from Pace. So what advice would you say to Brooke for getting that information out? Like, what's the best way to disseminate that information? Because we could also pass that on to Coastal Food Shed.
Well, with Pace, especially, they have so much going on, and all of their programs and projects throughout the city should have this information in. Like Pace Head Start, which is 2 blocks away from me. I don't know if they have a poster over there or not about it. But even right here, 2 blocks, there are many places here in the neighborhood they put the flyers out and all that kind of stuff. And that's not just Pace, that's everybody. There's very little advertisement. And of course, people don't put things on the telephone poles like they used to do and vacant buildings like they used to do. But if you want to, you can do it in our neighborhood.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you can do it in our neighborhood. We want
Brooke, you want to comment?
Yes, I actually am trying to push for is a billboard outside our building. So that would be great, right? Because then we could post everything updated. I've been asking for that and trying to see if we can find funding so we can have a digital billboard to highlight everything going on over here at Pace. Because we do offer a lot of services and different things here. So were you specifically talking about the HIP program when it comes here? Is that what we were talking about? I got sidetracked with a phone call.
Just anything around food access, Brooke.
Okay, yep. Yep. And I hope you
No,
come to the food center, John, because we have a lot of information in the lobby about different resources and programs in the whole community. including food access, different ways to access food and resources, as well as other resource avenues in the community. So if you want to stop in, we could definitely help you out with some more pamphlets and more resource and information anytime you'd like.
And if I can, do social media, because everybody tells you, oh, but you gotta do social media too. You gotta do social media too. Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Because again, that's where people are getting information from. How you said it earlier, Liz, gonna meet people where they're at. Sometimes you gotta go use that machine to let people know what's going on. Information is important.
Definitely.
Excellent. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Brooke.
Mhm.
All right, in
Thank
the
you.
last few minutes, thank you. In the last few minutes, I'm just going to share how you can get involved and how you can talk with other people about what they can do to get involved. So first is just in the coming year, we're going to have issue briefings and calls to action. So just attend the issue briefings, which will be virtual, to learn more about the issues and then just take the advocacy action. We will send out the emails to contact your legislators. So actually do that and then share the link with other people. That would be great. Participate in the lobby days that we have. We're going to work with CMAP and a bunch of other groups to go to the State House for HIP. And there are other days that we're going to do lobby days as well. So just when there's an opportunity, engage in that opportunity if you can. And then attend the annual food summit, whether we're having it in person with Andrea on the Cape or we're just doing it virtually online. This is a great way to see the different silos, as Liz said, breaking down around the food sector and what that potentially could look like. And then also, last piece, represent your community and your organization. Be a member of the community advisory board or a working group and have your voice at the table in these processes and decisions and all the action we're taking. So a lot of ways to get involved there. If you have other ways or other ideas that the way you can get involved with us, please let us know. We're open to collaboration and meetings with you all. So that's kind of the piece we've gone through now, where we've been in the past year and the successes, what we're going to tackle in policy in the coming year and why it's important, how our working groups work, like essentially what they're going to work on, and then how you can get involved. So that is in a nutshell for the quarterly meeting. Any questions or thoughts? Are we doing a good job? Are we not doing a good job?
Does anybody have any final updates regarding their organizations that they want to elevate before we part ways?
I just have one announcement. We're gonna, in February, we're doing a visioning session around the Moss Cutting Trees property and food security and health and youth. And that's gonna be in February 18th is the date that we're looking at right now. Christine has been involved in the planning meetings already. I want to thank her for that. And we're looking to get anyone, not just in the South End, anyone interested in food and food security that could come in and work with us in visioning what the South End could look like in the future for food. And so we're inviting anyone who would like to participate in that committee. On the food committee, you can contact Christine. She's chairing that for us. Nicole Williams is chairing our health committee. And we're working with Amelia Moore, also the youth committee. But we're going to be talking about jobs and policies and all that kind of stuff. And one last announcement that on Wednesday, tomorrow at 2 p.m., we're having a announcement and reception at the library downtown Bedford to announce a $100,000 grant from EPA to South Coast Community Foundation and Old Bedford Village to do some of the work that we're talking about. Right? And we're so proud of it. And I want to thank Christine and many of y'all, Liz, who has helped us over the years in making this happen. Marion Institute is a lead on the local food, local places grant, and is part of this process. And we would not have been able to do it with all of the help that everybody's doing. Thank everybody. Everybody should be clapping for themselves
That was a huge accomplishment, buddy. Thank you. And so excited for you. Liz, I want to make sure we have time for you.
Thanks. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Liz Miller from Spoonfuls. I've met with a handful of you. I've seen many of you. Spoonfuls is a food recovery org that works across Mass. And I've shared in this venue previously that we're exploring expansion kind of down into your neck of the woods. And I'm excited to share that we're really plowing ahead with those plans. We've secured funding for a couple years of a route in the kind of Bristol, Plymouth counties. We haven't identified the exact route yet, but definitely I think some of where you all work would be a part of our catchment area at least. So I'm sharing now to say that like the process that or the part that we're doing now is really trying to assess like where we will be recovering food from. We're looking for vendor partners. That is like we need to get a good sense of that so that we can then say, okay, now we've got all this food that we can deliver to our agency partners. So if you have ideas for vendors we should be connecting with, we primarily work in the retail world. We also recover from farms. So I was very excited to hear about your gleaning discussions. So if you have ideas, I'm going to drop my name in the chat. I would love to hear them. As far as connecting with agency partners to receive donations, that will be coming. I will be sure that you all hear about that when the time comes for that. But first, we need to get our vendor partners. But yeah, we would really love, we've been having amazing conversations with folks in the community who have been making fantastic connections for us. So I'm just asking to please keep them coming. And I will drop my the
That's
chat.
awesome. Just to clarify a question for everybody on here, because I know we've spoke, but everything that you recover, you keep it in the communities that you're recovering from as much as possible, correct?
Yes, that's right. So we work regionally. So, you know, like we have Greater Boston and Metro West and Worcester and Hampden County, like the food we recover in your region would stay in your region. It's not going to Greater Boston. It's not going somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
And then with regards to the gleaning program, so you would be an entity like PACE or like, you know, some the Hunger Commission, the United Way's Hunger Commission, that could be a resource that if we gleaned on a farm, but we needed help to be able to say, hey, you come pick it up and distribute it, you could do that piece. You're not doing the actual gleaning piece, but you're the conduit to the agencies that it could be delivered to, correct?
That's exactly right. So we operate with refrigerated vehicles and we move food. That would be wasted otherwise. That's our kind of our core mission. So yeah, so very happy to talk with anyone more about that. And
yeah, we'll definitely want to reconnect now that that gleaning program is really like, you know, that's what we're spending time on this winter, you know, is really sort of putting the pieces together for that and slowly building that out. So
nice. Cool. Happy to connect on that, Liz.
Great. Any final thoughts before we end the meeting? Great. Thank you all. Thank you for your time today. Thanks for your time all year and have wonderful holidays and we'll see you in 2025, if not sooner.
25. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Bye. Thank you.